One of the ways to deal with the defensiveness that so many men feel is to, number one, acknowledge it and say, we understand. Of course, we're going to feel defensive sometimes, but I also invoke and I write about the triad of men's violence, which Michael Kaufman wrote about in an essay in 1987. And it's shocking, but 1987 is almost 40 years ago. So Michael Kaufman, one of the co-founders of the White Ribbon Campaign and an important figure in our field, when he wrote The Triad of Men's Violence, what he was doing was connecting men's violence against women to men's violence against other men to men's violence against themselves, which is, because suicide is violence turned inward. And these are all connected. And I and others in my gender violence prevention work have been using this conceptually and practically for 40 years. Okay, so again, this is not something brand new. But we're introducing it to a broader audience. And the reason why I say that is because so many men have experienced violence in their life from other men, whether it's violent fathers or older brothers, or certainly on the playground or in childhood, adolescence. It could be sexual abuse. I mean, there's so many ways that men and young men have experienced violence at the hands of other men, and many of those men have never begun to even think that that's connected to men's violence against women. And they'll say, well, what about when those men will hear, some of those men, when they hear talk about men's violence against women, they'll say, well, what about violence against men? What about all the men who are experiencing violence? And I often say, as if we hadn't thought of that. Oh, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. It's like, of course we thought of that. This has been built into our work from the beginning. And when you start making these connections, I think you start reducing some of the defensiveness and you start finding points of empathy, because guys know what it's like to fear men, because both women and men fear men. And one of the unspoken, sort of realities of, or I would say dirty little secrets of traditional or hegemonic masculinity is that men are afraid of each other. So many men are afraid of each other. Some can articulate that out loud and many can't. But men do live in fear of each other.